See the top of that?
Yep. Howdy. This is an introduction to understanding video technology and production. I'm James, this is my partner Ethan. Today we'll be talking about pre-production, production, and the technical aspects of digital video technology. To start us off, I'm going to speak about the type of production that we shall be focusing on: film. A feature film or movie is a moving image production that has a running time exceeding 40 minutes, which can be shown at a cinema, on TV, or by whatever other means available. The first ever film produced was called Roundhay Garden Scene, and it only lasted 2.11 seconds, however it's still considered a film. Any film production below 40 minutes is known to be a short film, and a lot of the following key principles discussed apply to that format. Finance. Funding a film can be done a number of ways. Currently, one of the most popular methods at the moment is crowdfunding. Crowdfunding occurs on websites such as Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and of course Crowdfunder. The idea of these websites is to give the decision of funding a film to the public and to help the people and small companies collect money for their films. Some examples of crowdfunded films are God Help the Girl, that raised $121,084, The Canyons, directed by Paul Schrader, that raised $159,015, and Super Troopers 2, which raised over $4.5 million, however has not been released yet. Time. Scheduling your production is essential for the successful completion of a short film. All of the details have to be spread out to each day fairly and at the right time so they're completed by a deadline. For example, you should break down your script into different sections, and if you're using a location to film the first scene and another scene later on is in the same location, you should film both of those scenes there at the same time. Other factors, such as the cast's availability and crew, also need to be considered before, as call sheets may need to be created for each day. Personnel. A film's crew will vary in size depending on how big and how much the production is going to cost, but some main roles during shooting are as follows. A director, the main person who tells the actor what he wants and he's responsible for what things go where. A producer, who is responsible for coordinating the production and the planning. A director of photography, who makes decisions which will make the production look artistically sound, and he deals with the camera and lighting choices. A camera operator, who operates the camera. A sound recordist, who records the on-set audio. A film may also require specialist contributors, such as a stunt coordinator, an historical consultant, a helicopter pilot, or maybe even something more specialist, such as the maggot wrangler for 28 Days Later, the hairdriver on Marie Antoinette, or the sexographer employed by Martin Scorsese for The Wolf of Wall Street. Great work if you can get it. Facilities. When making a film, you have to consider the different facilities available to you. These include studio hiring and hiring production kit, such as cameras, lighting equipment, support systems, camera lenses, batteries, clapperboards, smoke machine, and maybe even more difficult to get props. Materials. The main materials required for a film should be along the lines of costumes and props, but could also include pre-recorded music or even the same shots you used from your previous film. Locations. Choosing the right location for your film is very important, as getting the right actors, props, and costumes. The right location can help immerse the audience into a film's universe, whereas the wrong location could have the opposite effect. It's the job of the location scout to search for the right locations, take useful photographs, and collate relevant information for the production to the location. Codes of practice and regulation. For a film, this mainly relates to issues of copyright, health, and safety considerations, and getting certification. In order to use any copyrighted work, you need to get the permission from the copyright owners. You may come across issues with copyright when dealing with screenplays, music, stock footage, and so on. How video works. In this section, I'll be discussing different television standards and broadcast systems. The analog television standard for the UK is known as PAL, PAL. This stands for phase alternation line and is a type of signal that uses 576 visible lines to display its image. PAL was unveiled in 1963 by German company Telefunken and first broadcast in the UK in 1976, but has mostly been phased out in favour of digital means such as DVB, which stands for digital video broadcasting. Other formats used around the world are ATSC, which stands for Advanced Television Standards Committee, and is the means of broadcasting that's replaced by commonly used by the NTSC. In America, it has 480 visible lines compared to PAL's 576. The change from analog to digital has brought a number of improvements, such as an improved picture quality, both in terms of the resolution of the image and the lack of interference. The smaller the signal that digital systems use also means that satellite and cable companies, such as Sky and Virgin Media, are able to stream more content and enable the viewer to record and watch more channels at once due to multiplexing. It also makes internet, TV, and on-demand systems possible, such as BBC iPlayer, Amazon Video, and Netflix. Digital recording. In this section, I am going to briefly explain the following principles: color, temperature, white balance, gain, shutter speed, exposure, focus, basic shot types, and lighting. Color temperature is the measure of a light source in degrees of kelvins, or K for short, which can be split into two categories: cool colors, or blues, of over 5,000 degrees Kelvin, and warm colors, or reds and yellows, which are temperatures ranging from about 2,700 to 3,000. Although this range of temperatures can occur naturally, video producers tend to use them for different purposes. Blue is used for sunlight, and yellow is used for tungsten or artificial light, despite the majority of lights today being daylight balanced. Using the wrong color temperature in a clip can make the shots look unnatural. However, this can simply be controlled when filming by adjusting the white balance setting on the camera. On most cameras, there is the option of automatic or manual white balance. To set the white balance on your camera, ensure it's set to manual mode, and aim the camera towards where you will be filming before taking a clear piece of white card and holding it up so that it is reflecting against the light sources for the scene. Adjust the camera zoom inwards until it fills up the frame, and then push the white balance button, meaning you can now film your scene. For example, here are a couple of shots with incorrect white balance done outside and inside. Next, we have shutter speed. The speed of the shutter is about the frequency that your shutter opens and closes whilst filming. Recording with a very fast shutter speed will result in the individual frames looking very clear with minimal motion blur. Alternatively, shooting at a slow shutter speed will cause the individual frames to have motion blur due to the image on the screen being in motion whilst the shutter is open. It's a general rule to work out your camera's frame rate and double it for the shutter speed to get a natural looking motion blur. Exposure and gain. Many use automatic exposure on camera when filming, which is acceptable for certain occasions. However, if the camera focus moves from something like a window to the inside of a room, you'll see the exposure fixing itself, resulting in an unprofessional looking shot. The exposure on a camera can be set manually by adjusting the f-stops on the lens. Depending on the camera, this may be done on the lens itself, on the body of the camera, or buried in a menu somewhere where it will never see the light of day. Simply put, you are either increasing or decreasing the amount of light being caught on the camera sensor by opening or closing the camera's iris. In dimly lit conditions, you can adjust the camera's gain control. This will increase your camera's sensitivity to light, a bit like ISO or on a DSLR, but can result in horrible, grainy images if used too strongly. Focus. It's important to get your shots in focus so that the film looks professional. However, you should never use autofocus if you are making a narrative film, unless you intend to use it for a certain effect. When discussing focus, we need to have an understanding of depth of field, which relates to how much of the shot is in focus. A deep depth of field in a shot will have everything in its focus. A deep depth of field